Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hugh. So, if I am correct here, this is the room in the middle of this fire section. It's about 4 or 5 rooms in that I missed the flask in. And so we're going to see if we can find it without immediately messing up. And then we'll fast travel to the next area. We'll exit this one room just out of safety, I guess, but yeah, we'll fast travel after exiting the next room. So if that loses all current progress, at least I'll be able to point out how stupid that would be. Okay. So, if there's supposed to be a flask in this room, where could it be? If that rock was still there, that then theoretically could get me to a higher spot. I'm thinking that might be the trick. Let's just restart. You really can't control much of anything else. We could put, say, the block here and then jump and hit that. And that would slightly change the outcome. We're walking against this wall, so it's not there. Can't push that rock. So if I could just grab a ledge. You can't get that to that location though from there. This oddly seems way more complicated than you would have expected. So the move would be to do, I guess, just a really long jump, then swap, and then that's just gonna kill you. Maybe you do like a halfway, so it catches 2 rocks, and then you do a really long jump. No. I don't see how that's gonna work. So what's the other trick that could be here? We should just solve the room just to see if something is on the other side of the room and my thought pattern is wrong. That may be good enough actually too. Okay. These are just walls. Barriers. They're not laser barriers that'll kill you. So you can just flop up that way. And then flip the switch. And then walk to the edge. Where you're safe. And then jump up again. And there it is. So no real surprise that I didn't get that the first time or the second time. That is really hidden. Alright. So we have 4 out of 4 now. We're gonna go through here. One would hope that that saves. Doesn't lose the progress. So let's go this way. Now I imagine, honestly, if you had fast traveled after collecting the flask, even in the same room, it probably would have saved. And that what they mean by all progress will be lost is more of a general, this one puzzle room, all progress will be lost. Alright, so I do have a walkthrough, and just in an effort to avoid wasting time, I am going to look at the walkthrough and know which rooms I actually need to find the flasks in. That will take us through, unfortunately, I think pretty much the entire world. But it won't create the situation like last episode where I go through the entire world and I miss something, because now I'll know. The walkthrough I have is just a map, and the map indicates what color you would need to get the flasks, which probably would indicate that you couldn't get all of the flasks on the first run through. These statues played no role in the game. I look at almost every game that comes out on Steam every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I'm streaming, and I see a lot of asset flip games. I'm not going to call this game an asset flip game because they actually did put some effort into it, and the programming around the color puzzles is just way more complicated than what any asset flipper would really have ever bothered to do. But that being said, this does feel like a odd middle ground between a game that very possibly could have started off as an asset flip and then just developed enough content in it to expand it to being a full-fledged game, even if it is a fairly small game. But it also has its flaws, and so I just can't really imagine doing more with this. They probably made the exact right decision by making a game that was short and relatively simple and not hanging around past its welcome. Yeah, I guess I'm there. Yeah. So once again, we have a chase sequence that is going to start with not killing yourself, with the simplistic, easiest part, being overeager. I imagine you might be able to be crushed by the doors. If I had an easier place where that could happen, I might consider letting that happen. Okay. one more room. And we should be at the first place where a flask is. Well, hey, this is gonna play out. It's gonna be weird, isn't it? We're gonna want to get rid of this first, and then probably keep this so you can get up here. So maybe there's a story that's trying to be told as far as the ring and its technology. In the edges of the world. Even if that was the case, though, the vast majority of the edges of the world are just incredibly repetitive. And there is definitely kind of an unfair advantage games like Metroid can have, where you can just have rooms respawn enemies in a Metroid game and add a bunch of fighting and shooting, whereas this game is too peaceful. There should be some level of competition. Okay, so we have one flask ready to go. Let's go over here and get the key first. We need that. Not sure how this is supposed to play out. Feels like that box can't really do anything. I guess maybe the box could fall and then it could go invisible. And that would work. Then we can reach that one. Then the box could fall. It could go visible there. Push this all the way this direction. We may very well not need both boxes. So only 2 more flasks in the entire game. Still no idea what that does. And frankly, I'd be a little frustrated if it turned out what it did was just add color to the whole game. There is something to be said about how lackluster rewards for beating games have gotten these days. And a new color mode would be a cool idea for beating the game, but collecting all the collectibles to then have a new color mode wouldn't really make a lot of sense, because then you wouldn't have any reason to continue to play. It'll be, I think, a while before we have another flask room. Meanwhile, this is just one of these straight up platforming sections. Let me double check to make sure there's no flask in this room. Nope. And that took me a lot more platforming to reach the first time. I guess there is probably a secondary way you could solve this whole thing, isn't there? Just hit this. And nope, that's not gonna work well. That would be the unsafe way to do things. So that got me a little bit further in the whole process. But it weirdly actually makes it worse now, because the move is going to want to be to, I guess you probably should have pushed forward there. That would have saved me. Again, we're really only working with 3 or 4 colors here. It's just not as much. Oh man, last second. Sure, it would be nice if you could just turn things green and have another shortcut in a level. Like, it really does feel like green should be your default. Are you trying to find collectibles? Let's just give you an easy shortcut out of redoing every single platforming thing a second time, because there really is just no value in this at all that I feel. I would have had to have severely enjoyed the puzzles the first time a lot more. I actually did. needed to just continue pressing forward, I guess. Pretty obvious there needs to be some shortcuts to like the middle of the areas. Well, pretty much. I just don't see why they didn't break up the areas into even smaller sections. And so that's all I needed to do is press forward. Again, let's say you got blue here. If there was a blue colored tunnel so you could just run from the left to the right of the screen, that'd be great. A run button in general might be helpful, although not really necessary in any other sections other than these temples. Alright. So somewhere in this area was a flask. Did I collect the flask? I would have needed yellow to collect the flask. Jump and press. This is also the point where the game just violates what it had established at the very beginning, which is that it would have always been safe to jump down. Pass. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a flask just in that spot. Nope, here's the flask now. Yellow was the second to last color, so we wouldn't have had it. So with any hope, the last flask is actually just a couple of rooms away from this room. And then when we get the flask, we'll see what happens, obviously, but I will fast travel to the house and see if anything is different there. I think there is also a fair argument to fast travel to the university, because it definitely felt like there was a door that may very well have just been a shortcut from the last location into university. Alright. We need, let's see, purple. Then light blue. Then red. And then light blue, purple. Jump down here. Just this room and the next room, then the room after that should be an area that had a flask. It may not be the last flask, though. We've already proven that fast traveling does save your progress. At least once you exit a room. Okay. What went wrong there? I stood on this and then I flicked it to green. I must have accidentally flicked it to something else. To like light purple. Or I must have thought I did at least. Which, alright, I'll take the blame for that. Maybe I spasmed. And fortunately that wasn't too much of a challenge either. So this room should have a flask in it. And I do not recall this room at all, so I suspect there is a decent chance that it does have a flask in it. So we just don't want to solve, I guess, too much of this. I imagine part of the reason. Okay, I see what's going on. Yet another yellow platform. We wouldn't have been able to have gotten a flask. So with that, I'm expecting an achievement to pop up, and it did. Cryptic apparatus. That's what it says. That may very well be the only thing we get. Though it's just that achievement for collecting all the flasks. Which that's about the worst way to have collectibles. Alright, so we've exited out the area. There's no more reason to go through this area. So let's skip to the house. We don't have any other abilities. Let's see. Hey Hugh, you saved your mother too, or did she save you? It must be your new mysterious powers, woo. I guess we'll just look around. Just to see if there is something. Imagine there was a flask there. Nothing with the wishing well. So there's a couple of characters. There's like one somewhat down this way at the very beginning you could talk to. Let's see. I don't think she's too far away. Nah, she kind of is. You have to go through here. Yeah, she's not that far away. And then we can just fast travel back. I'm hoping she's not as far away. I think she's just at the end of this road. Well, I'll go until I see a door, and then I'll go through the door and see if... Yeah. I could have sworn that the lady was closer than this. Well, let me just look at the map. So there was a statue zone, a waterfall zone, and then an electricity zone. Yeah, I don't know where the lady went there. Alright. Let's talk to the mother. Good morning, Hugh. Isn't it great to be home? Everything is back to the way it should be. Doesn't look like there's anything extra. Let's talk to the fisherman. Hey, little landlubber. It's so great to see you two reunited. You both slept the whole way back. Must have been so tired. Your mother's back, Hugh. Wonderful. What a relief it must be. Then you have the lighthouse doing the white light. Which is kind of the only white light. Oh, here she is. She moved. No wonder I couldn't find her. Hello again, Hugh. Great to see you and your mother are safe. Hopefully we'll cross paths. Maybe we can visit the waterfall again. So it doesn't feel like there's anything there. And I definitely don't feel a need to go and visit the cave mountain or the mountain section. There was a collectible here and a flask, and we had already collected it. So if there was any other secrets, the problem is going to arise is that they're going to be tied to this door in the top left, which I suspect is tied to running around the entire level. Oh, hey, you. Not supposed to be here. University is closed. The pipes have burst. Let's be on your way. Yeah. Let me see if this walkthrough talks about the university. Hard university levels. It talks about. There's another guide here. It says hard university levels. Interesting. But it also seems like that would just really suck. If we had to run through this whole section again. So what I think I want to do is just check to see where we are in achievements. Unless there was some major shortcut. Yeah. It does just feel like I'd have to run through all of the university levels. Why not give me... Like we have all the beakers, right? Yeah. If there was some secret hard university level, which is maybe a misnomer, maybe this walkthrough just labeled the only university levels as being hard, which in fairness, they were a little bit more difficult, but not that much difficult. It really does feel like it would boil down to just how good you are at platforming. If you are good at platforming, then you're probably pretty safe. If you're not so good at platforming, then I could see you struggle. Yeah, this is the last room I'll do. Like, I really am just sitting here kind of wasting time. Like, these puzzle rooms don't feel like they're changing any. And even now, going back and fast traveling, I don't think would do anything. So, let's just see what the achievements say. If I have all the achievements, I'm done with this series. If there is some other achievement missing, then I might continue to be motivated. And I have all the achievements, which cryptic apparatus, collecting all the mysterious, fun, secret beakers. They label them as fun. I don't know if I'd really agree with that. Was done by 6% of the players, so you have a pretty high number there. The number of people who actually watched the credits all the way through was about 11% of the players, which is pretty low. The number of people who beat the game is 13% of players, which is pretty low. Like, on average, you'd want to see about 30% of players making it to the credits, and you'd like to see all of those people sit through the credits, but I certainly understand why you wouldn't do that. There is one achievement called Pigment of Your Imagination that says make 5,000 obstacles disappear. I got that very early in the game. And then the rest of these achievements are pretty much just based on collecting the colors. So, yeah. I don't think that I have too much more to say. I kind of want to do some research here and just see if this developer has made any other games, because it definitely feels to me like there's room for them to develop a different game that's a little bit different. Yeah. But no. Fiddlesticks Games has not developed or released any other game other than Hue. And I imagine that might be in part because it came out in just 2016, and so they may be working on something new, or it may just be a case of them not selling quite enough. Yeah. And I'll try not to repeat myself too much here, but there definitely are some small problems here. Like, this definitely feels like a game that was influenced by Limbo, inappropriately influenced by Limbo, because it tells too happy-go-lucky of a story, which really, the blackness and the darkness of the characters on the screenshots alone makes it unlikely to be a game that you could sell to kids, but the platforming with perhaps a little bit of assistance and a little bit more polish definitely could have made this a very kid-friendly game. Like, you die, yes, but it's from falling on spikes, so like that's not too terrible. Nothing impales you, or you don't leave a bloody corpse or anything like that. The puzzles definitely could use some polish. They overspent on the budget, in my opinion, on the music. The music is very nice, certainly, but I could have definitely traded one or two songs for slightly better polished puzzles. The layout of the world being kind of this open world, you can go in different directions, could use some polish so that each world, each section could have been broken up into even smaller sections. They overall did do a decent job of keeping it short and sweet. This would have been the kind of game that would have driven me crazy had it been twice as long, with the frustration. Even now, though, I can feel blisters forming on my thumbs because of the platforming element on this. I probably would have preferred there to be almost no platforming in this game in favor of the color gimmick, but I also would have wanted to see a second gimmick on the color gimmick instead of just swapping different colors. If anything, this is the prime example of how to make a game accessible, the opposite of being accessible, just because you've made the gimmick around so many colors, and that is just going to make people with color blindness incapable of really playing your game, on top of the platforming, which is also a little inaccessible for people who may have some hand mobility or hand-eye coordination problems, which the game really doesn't sell itself well enough as a platforming game for as much platforming as it does have in it. I feel like the story was very shallow, didn't really have an explanation, didn't feel like it really had a resolution. There definitely was room for a few more animations at the very end, and just better animations when you collected a new color. It is kind of a shame that when you collect all the colors, the world doesn't fill in the new animation style, but by the time you had collected all the colors in the game, you would have been 2/3 of through the whole game, and then there would have had to have been even more secrets to find to go back and play the levels a second time. But since I'm not super satisfied with the platforming levels, there's no joy in going back and doing the world and playing the game a second time or anything like that, or even finding the flasks. The flasks probably unnecessary. They could have just been left on the cutting room floor in favor of a little bit more polish in the game, in the actual puzzles. Yep. And I think that's pretty much it. There is that ADD-ness in that you have an electricity section and an ancient civilization is mentioned, and electricity and ancient civilization just don't seem to matter at all. It's like it's just mentioned. You see visual assets that are just shown, and then they're forgotten about once you leave that area. It opens a lot of questions that aren't intriguing enough to make you want to try and find the answers, and even if you were intrigued enough to try and find the answers, you wouldn't find any. Yeah, and I guess I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm going to spend another 10 minutes just nitpicking this game. This is very much a average game. I'm not going to say it's bad. I'm not going to say it's good. We do need more average games. We do need more variety of games. There's far too many first-person shooters out there that too are average. So I applaud the attempt, but I would have preferred it be a great game, obviously. That's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.